Normally, I don't do videos of this sort if you see any other content on my channel, but I feel compelled on this great day of October 26, 2016, as we're nearing the end of the Future Trunks saga in Dragon Ball Super, to outline what made it, at least in my viewpoint or from my perspective, go from great to good. Um, a few things to point out here. I am not a person who has had issue with this series over things it can't control. And what I mean by that is, I'm not mad at the show for, let's say not allowing my favorite character, Gohan, to be the star, or, Piccolo or Krillin having very reduced roles compared to the original series and Z, and I guess GT to an extent, but whatever. The point I'm making is the critiques I have are only relating to this arc in and of itself and everything introduced, as well as just things that were established in the context of this series alone. Um, and again, pertaining to this arc. So I won't go and say, I don't like this arc because Gohan is barely in it or, isn't in it. Or it doesn't matter to me. It's not relevant here. Um, so the first critique, and arguably the one that really was kind of the just boiling pot of my criticism, was the reveal that Goku Black is Zamasu in the in Goku's body. Now, if I go back to when this saga was first beginning back in July and a little bit of August too, I was very much convinced that at most this is a clone of Goku that was made via a wish from the Super Dragon Balls, which are said to be more powerful than the regular Dragon Balls that have appeared throughout all of the different individual series. And the reason for that claim came from the fact his appearance from Goku differed in that he had a darker skin tone, noticeably darker skin tone, complexion. And unless he sat outside and just got tan one day, it didn't make sense to me how he could have such a noticeable um, physical difference and still end up being the same guy. So I was pretty convinced my theory was one of fact. And all of a sudden, when this, I think it was episode 62, it was revealed, we see the flashback of the Zamasu who becomes black, using the Super Dragon Balls to switch bodies with Goku. And he just instantly, after the switch, gets a darker skin tone. And the second I saw that, my mouth almost dropped to the floor because it said to me that this is not an issue of the writers. This is not an issue of anyone who had anything to do with the writing process. This is an issue of the character designer, whoever came up with the with Goku Black's design, and that either would tell me that they didn't think this in advance, which I don't believe. I believe they thought the whole arc in advance, like Toyotaro said about Toriyama. You get the basic outline, you go from there. And he can get away with it in the manga because it's in black and white, so you don't have that same discrepancy with their appearances. And I can buy that it's the same person or it's the same body. It's much more believable there because you don't have opposing skin colors, um, you know, with no explanation. And literally, it felt like the biggest cop out in the world to just there's no way no one but me noticed that. But that was the first thing that kind of threw me off about this part one that I'm still on. The other part is I don't I hate timelines that are. I mean, to put this, basically the story goes that Trunks was just chilling out in his timeline. Black comes over there, causes Trunks to go back. him going back causes Goku, Beerus, and Whis to go see Zamasu, who becomes black, or would have become black had Beerus not killed him. But because of the time ring, black still exists after being killed, um, which all of it confuses me. But the thing that makes no that I don't like is that they could have so easily had, I don't like timeline paradoxes like that where you doing things differently still causes the event. It's just like, there was no way of avoiding this. And you go back in time to prevent it from happening, and it still happens even though you had no involvement with it. Um, so it just didn't make sense to me. But they also, I don't think they explain. Though in the manga they have it to where Zamasu becomes aware of Black, or of Goku rather, through the Supreme Kai of Universe 7, I'm just going to call Supreme Kai. And, that sets in forth the whole idea to go about this plan. But, it was irritating to me as a person who, watches this stuff because it opens up this can of worms. Like, the time ring can do that. How? It was lame. And I don't agree with the idea. Hell Zeon said the same thing, that he would be upset with it. I was upset with it too. I just didn't think they would actually go that route. And when I watched that, I just thought of his video and he's gonna go just completely asinine over this. I know, and I don't blame him because I was just flipped out over it too. It just didn't make sense to me. But that's the first critique, and that took as long as it did. Um, the next one has to do with just the whole, I guess, the way this arc is structured. Now, that really comes from, how do I say this? My issue with, the way the arc's structured from the standpoint of fighting. So, when you have Black show up in the present for the first time, Goku just decides to fight him, even though he has, out of these three main Saiyans, him, Trunks, and Vegeta, the ones we're going to be focusing on because they're, the only ones who have actually fought. It makes sense for Trunks not to fight, because he's banged up or whatever, and he's tired, I guess. It makes sense for Vegeta to fight because this guy killed his surviving family, killed his wife in another timeline. Is threatening his son from another timeline who's already attached to him to an extent. So he had the perfect motivation to fight Black, and instead Goku fights him. And I'm supposed to believe that the only reason Goku actually, gets to battle him first is because he's the main character. No, I won't believe that. I won't buy it. They could have easily have made something to the effect of Goku getting mad and saying, "You've taken my face and my appearance and made me out to be the bad guy." That would have given him the motivation. He's angry about someone using his appearance or being so physically similar to him, bringing shame upon his name. Even, Black even calls himself Goku. I'd be mad too. It would have been the perfect motivation. But they didn't do that. And then when you get into Vegeta's fight with Black in the future, I mean, it was so predictable that he would lose. It was absolutely predictable. The second he started punching Black, I said, all right, well, let's give this a few seconds, a few minutes. We'll see how this goes. I didn't think it would be that quick, because I'm so used to the pacing of Z where it's like a good 4 or 5 episodes of somebody fighting um, the same person or longer. But it was expected. So the issue I have with that fight is that, where is it established in the continuity of this show that Vegeta is really leaps and bounds weaker than Goku? Because Goku's able to kind of hold him off for the most part, and yeah, they Black got him by surprise, but even then it just felt like another example of trying to elevate Goku when Vegeta's this character who has a bigger motivation and a higher reason to be the guy that fights and or defeats Black. and they just kept on, insisting, "No, it's the main character, main character, main character." It gets to a point where you just, I mean, if you're going to use a main character and shove him into a plot that he really, it makes sense for Goku to be involved because the strongest person, or at least one of the strongest people, and can put up with Black, one of the few two people from the present timeline who can put up with Black that's on Earth. So it makes sense for him to be involved with the plot, but it doesn't make sense for him to be at the center of it. And from just a narrative standpoint, I mean, his motivation isn't what I just said earlier about, you took my appearance, I'm angry with you, you besmirched my name. It's not that at all. It's just him being the main character and getting the screen time and hogging the spotlight over others that have much more motivation than he does. So that's that. Now, the third critique I have, and just sort of, I guess the crux of this, back when we found out Black was Zamasu, I immediately assumed there were three different versions of this character, and I got sick of him because I really did love the idea of Black just being this cohort of Zamasu that's similar to him in personality, but has the power and appearance of Goku. It just really seemed like such a brilliant thing to do, where the enemy is my friend because I corrupted him or made a corrupt version of him. It seemed really innovative, and I like the idea of having two antagonists on an equal footing, or close to equal footing, fighting the heroes together. We haven't had that since 17 and 18, really. It's always one guy or one person with somebody over them, like Boo and Bobbity for a while. It's just annoying. Or Bobbity and Deborah, one of the most underrated DBZ villain, and underused, but that's another story. So, with that being said, I tune in, and for the next week, it's like, oh, there's no way there's three versions of this character. Now they're insisting that that Black is the same version of Zamasu as one in the present timeline. No, he isn't. And I'm saying that now because whether you want to agree or disagree with that assessment, these two timelines still are completely different. The Zamasu from the present timeline got killed by Beerus. That's confirmed. He died. The Zamasu from from the future timeline is future Zamasu. The Zamasu who was the same as the present timeline Zamasu that lived because the little ring was on his finger. He there's no way you can say he's the same person. The timelines are different. So now we really do have three different versions of this character. And again, I got tired of him, not because I don't necessarily like Zamasu as a villain. I don't like Zamasu as the villains. They took a completely what could have been a really good villain, and he still is to an extent. I like the idea of, I'm gonna go recruit another one of me. That's something that I can say is one of the positives of this arc. If it comes down to that, that's a good idea. I know he won't go astray because I didn't go astray, and he is me. I am him. I like that, and I have his loyalty because we are the same person. That overall concept. But therein lies the issue when you realize. So Black was Zamasu this whole time. We met the present Zamasu, and now we've met the future Zamasu. So it's three different characters, like I thought at first. In spite of what some people want to say. And again, there are three future, present Zamasu and Goku Black are different characters because their timelines and their fates are different. Ergo, they're different. If even if they killed Zamasu and then we see Goku Black just disappearing, they'd still be the same, different people because they died at different points, or different. Like it's like future Trunks and present Trunks, in my view. I got sick of all these different versions of the same character. This is just one guy over. That's gonna be the new thing for Dragon Ball? And I know Toriyama, had the basic rough drafting, but I'm kind of convinced that he, was behind this. We're just gonna create the same character and have multiple versions of him as the villain. uh, and that's going to get tedious very, easily. But these critiques again are not me saying this arc was horrible. If I had to rate it, it's still the best arc of Super. I like Future Trunks coming back. I like him playing a vital role in the story again. I like Black, even after he was revealed as being Zamazu. I like the fact that they actually tried to keep it a mystery. It was really good to me. It was really good, and these issues they're there and here, but I still think this is the best. This is the pinnacle of Super so far. If I had to rate it, I would say the Future Trunks arc, well, the current arc, is good. It went from great to good. The tournament arc was okay, and the retellings were trash. And I've already expressed before why I thought that to be the case. So if you disagree with me, that's all right. I can't change your mind. You can't change my mind. But I hope I explained, or at least gave in part, um, you know, reasons for why I feel the way I do, and offered some type of thorough, explanation that didn't just amount around my favorite character isn't relevant anymore. So thank you for watching, and have a good day.